Welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is episode 20. The final reckoning finale.
Final reckoning, final.
My name is Zach, and as always, I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey.
My best friend, Jake.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Let me start up top by saying, if you listen to our show, you can tell that my voice probably sounds weird.
To some, it may sound weird.
If you're new to the show, this isn't what I normally sound like.
I mean, I sound like George Bush.
That's true. But Hannah and myself were on vacation in California this week in the desert area, Palm Desert.
We just got back. Literally got back.
Yeah, that's
3 hours ago.
We'll get into that in a second. But because of that, we are not used to the climate differences, and it was very warm out there. It's very cold in Tennessee. It was snowing earlier in the week, and the dry desert climate has screwed with my sinuses so bad, and I never have sinus problems. I may take like 2 Zyrtec a year in Tennessee. I've been so dried out and congested, and it's like horrible, and now I'm at the point to where I'm losing my voice, and it's not because like I have a cough or anything. It's just my throat's been completely dry when I'm sleeping because my nose is stopped up, so my mouth's wide open, and it's just a bad cycle. But we promised we were going to record as soon as we got back from California. We pushed it by a day, and we weren't going to push it anymore. What happened? We were supposed to be in Nashville last night around 11 o'clock, spend the night in Nashville, drive into our home.
We had a 1 p.m. flight from where we were staying in Southern California.
That was Jake coughing, by the way.
Yesterday. Our flight was at 1 p.m. We had to be out of our house by 10 a.m.
Yes.
So we had...
Well, our house in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had to kill maybe an hour and a half before we headed over to the airport.
Also, a quick note, we do not own a house in California. It was an Airbnb.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it wasn't our house.
It was okay.
I thought it was nice.
So we had like an hour and a half we had to kill before we had to head to the airport.
Just kidding, 7 hours.
Well, what happened was we decided we would go try to get lunch. And while we were at lunch, we got a notification that our flight was pushed from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. So we had a little more time. And then about 1:30, it was pushed back to 4:15. And then a few minutes later, it was pushed back to 4:48.
Something like that, yeah.
And then it was pushed back to 5.
And then after that, it was almost 6. And
so we had hours to kill. Finally got to the airport, and it was delayed 3 more times. And we ended up leaving at 6:18.
Yeah, apparently Seattle, we weren't having a direct flight.
But we were flying to Seattle.
This all happened, and I'm not blaming anyone or anything.
It was, the visibility in Seattle was little to none.
Well, but initially, though, we were supposed to fly out to San Diego. Earlier in the week, we got notice that San Diego might be under evacuation warning.
It was under evacuation by the time we decided to change our plans.
Well, they were just saying, hey, be ready. They weren't an active evacuation.
Yeah, but we didn't want to wait around and then get a notification like 2 days before we left Tennessee saying we couldn't even go to San Diego. So we decided
we pivoted. We flew into Palm Springs.
We went a little bit further south.
It's a much smaller airport, way less flights out. But what happened is there was like one flight to Seattle, and we had to lay over in Seattle before we could fly towards Nashville. Well, Seattle's visibility apparently was awful yesterday because there's so much fog.
Well, the thing was, our flight from Palm Springs to Seattle was coming from Seattle.
Yeah.
And so all of the planes from Seattle all day were delayed by hours because literally they couldn't see outside. And so lots and lots of flights were delayed. There was another flight to Seattle with Alaskan Airlines that was delayed by an hour.
So we get into Seattle late last night at like 10:30, and then we have to spend the night at a hotel
and be up by 6.
Be up by 6 because we had to fly out at 8, which put us now flying on the worst day in
the worst day
US
to ever travel. Ever.
Because everyone flies the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and so we had another connecting flight. We flew from Seattle to Minneapolis and then Minneapolis back to Nashville. But the thing was, our flight from Seattle to Minneapolis was almost too close.
They were boarding when we were still not off the plane yet.
They started boarding when we landed.
Yeah.
And so we ended up only having 8 minutes to get on the plane. I did the math. And by the time we got off of our plane, thankfully, there was one of those little golf carts waiting by the door, and we just hopped on.
Yeah, I guess all airports are all hands on deck on this day, and
they were ready.
There was a lot of golf carts ready to take people for like last minute connections, and so it worked out.
So,
but the thing is, if you don't know, Hannah has a very severe tree nut allergy, and so we have to always board early to wipe everything down. Well,
I'm always the first person.
The second flight, there's no way to do that.
Person on the plane.
We were late. And
they still let us jump in front of everybody. Like we ran up to the counter and they let us cut in front of everybody else that was online.
Jake, do you remember that one time we were flying from Dallas, which is an insane large airport? Like, do you remember? We went to go see his brother, and they said, "Hey, if you guys will take another flight that's like leaves like 10 minutes later, you'll get like $500 credit for future flights." And we're like, yeah, we'll do that. And they're like, okay, well, we were in like the A gate, and they're like, it's in like D17, and DFW is like its own city.
Yeah.
So we picked up our bags and ran. Like, I've never ran in an airport like you see on like Home Alone.
Oh yeah.
Like, we ran.
You and I hit a little sprint coming off of the plane earlier today.
Me and Jake ran through Dallas's airport and made it to the gate like as close as we could have, but we made it and we got free flights.
I remember because I struggled to keep my pants up because I was a chunky little boy at that time, and it's probably wearing girl jeans. That was my girl jeans phase too.
You were probably like 17 and I was like 19.
Me and him were both emo kids. It's what you did.
I didn't ever do that though.
Well, Zachary, you look like a lumberjack these days. I appreciate
what do
that.
I look like?
I didn't start this.
I don't know.
So
I didn't offer to give you a description.
So anyway, not even just the flights. We get back on Nashville. If you've ever driven down Nashville,
we have
the interstate's one way to get back to our house.
Yeah, we have exactly a 2-hour drive from Nashville to our driveway,
and it took almost 4.
It took over 3.5 hours. There were almost 10 wrecks.
Yeah,
just leaving Nashville. And so it was such
there
a nightmare.
There were so many slowdowns where people were just wrecking on the side of the road.
We've been traveling for 36 hours, and we just got home.
Nashville's
so tired.
a night meal to drive.
Night meal? It's a night meal.
Got food on the brain. I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too.
Nashville is a nightmare to drive.
It was the worst
anyway.
I've seen. It's the worst I've seen it today.
I'm serious. As someone who has spent a lot of time in Nashville the past 10 years, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Like literally traffic was so bad coming from the airport. This is only going to affect regional listeners. It didn't want to take us through downtown or anything. It made us drive all the way out to Opry Mills and go around the whole city because that was faster.
We went out Opry Mills towards Gallatin.
Yeah.
Which is way up north.
Because that was the fastest route because everyone was crashing into each other. Like Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
Space between.
So, anyway, I'm glad to be home.
Jake.
The thing was, I missed the show last week because...
Well, you watched it. You just didn't do the podcast.
Yeah. I missed this.
We read your notes.
I missed
everyone.
this last week.
Yeah.
I wonder how you did. I did hear you say something I need to make a note on. I found out I had strep. My mom is an ER nurse, and she told me she thought it was strep. I felt like it was strep because I'd had it before, and it felt almost exactly the same. So I finally ended up going to the doctor the Sunday before last week.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I had already been sick for a full week and finally decided to go to the doctor because I spiked a pretty high fever. And doc told me it was a false negative for strep, which meant I had strep, but the test was inaccurate. So got medicated for all that. And by the time we were day 2 in California, I have been totally fine since.
And
it totally cleared me up. I feel amazing.
But
I'm great.
My throat, it's not like strep or anything. It's not like I'm coughing and like it hurts. It's just my throat has just been so dry. Like I can't talk. Like I'm going to lose my voice during the show.
You needed a humidifier at night.
Absolutely.
Because, we're so accustomed to the humid weather in southern Tennessee. We just weren't
So
used to the dry desert.
here's what's going to happen. I usually try to like moderate the show as best as I can. Tonight,
It's all me.
I'm going to let them run with it, and I'm just going to chime in when I can because, trust me, we have a lot of notes about tonight.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'll have the occasional cough, as you heard a minute ago, which also caused me to botch my Dave Matthews impression. I feel like my voice may have pipsqueaked a little bit there.
It's fine.
I don't know what just came out of your mouth.
I will say...
it sounded good.
Just off before we get into last night's episode tonight for us.
Tonight.
We will.
Good show name.
It is.
We will not be commenting on apparently all the social media drama. We had some people hit us up, said you missed it last night. We stayed off social media as much as possible because we did not want to see what happened.
But also, in addition to that, you and I did not have service almost the entire week.
It depended, yeah.
Like
we had to be on Wi-Fi most of the time.
And half the time my phone wouldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. So I've been off of social media almost completely for 7 days. So we missed everything. Oh well, we didn't miss the show though. We watched it tonight, so we're all caught up.
Well, it's good to have you guys back. And
it's good to be home.
Jake, did you miss us?
I did.
I felt like you did.
You
texted us a lot more than I expected you to.
I had a lot of things to say. We worked out a deal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That involved
probably
cat
not
food.
Going to talk about that on here.
No, we won't. But the cat's taken care of. The dogs are great.
You did have to buy more cat food for
I
Dora.
did.
That's 100% on her. That's not my fault.
No, it's not my fault. She had.
Yes, it is.
No, I checked. I checked the day we left. I checked that morning how much food she had. She had plenty, but the thing is, she's popped a hole in the middle of the bag.
Then you should have put it up.
I did, but she can get to it because they're cats. They climb, and she has managed to make the hole larger by shoving her head into it. And she eats what's in her bowl, and then she puts her head in the bag and eats the rest.
Well, she was the easiest to deal with out of all the animals.
She's super easy. Most cats are.
She was great.
She lives in a room.
You don't have to let them outside. Anyway.
Yeah, because they poop in your house.
Anyway. So this finale, the thing was, the week before this season premiered, I saw on Instagram, MTV Challenge account posted kind of like a teaser thing promoting the new season coming on. And I saw, I follow on Instagram some of the cast members, and I saw where they had commented on it. So I decided, I get curious and kind of nosy.
It's a bad idea.
Well, I had no idea it was a bad idea. So I decided I would try to read some of the comments, see who's saying what. Usually Tony tries to stir the pot a little bit, says some stuff about people. Or, jokes. Sometimes they're real funny. And so I just start reading and scrolling and reading more. And then I saw somebody just say,
Spoiler. Well, here's the thing.
This is not a spoiler, but I'm not going to say the name. It just said, this person wins the show.
Just from here on out, we're going to say who won. So this episode's aired. If you're listening to this and you don't know who won, stop.
Do you just want to come on right out and say it?
Yeah, I will say it because here's what happened to me.
Jesus want to come on out and say it? Is that what you just said?
Here's what happened to me. Jake's going again.
I'm sorry.
I literally unfollowed every single person from personal Twitter, Instagram, all that's associated with the challenge.
That was yesterday.
I unfollowed everyone because I didn't want to see any spoilers. So
you still followed us.
I still followed you guys, but I get on the plane today.
My husband's not going to unfollow me on Twitter.
I might. I get on the plane today, and I had Twitter pulled up before we fly, and so I didn't have any network, but it'll still show the tweets that you had pulled up earlier. And so I'm looking through, and out of every single freaking thing it could have shown, it's like, hey, 10 people that follow you, follow this account. It's the official MTV Challenge account. And it said, spoiler from here on out, do you think Ashley made the right call about the money? And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I was on the last flight on the way home today. I'd made it that far. And I was like, I went and did my due diligence, and then Twitter's stupid algorithm that's like, hey, you might want to see this. It screwed me up. So I knew going into tonight that Ashley won, and I assumed that meant that she took the money.
You know what it makes me think of? I told you before we got started that I've been watching a lot of Sanford and Son.
Yeah, you did say that.
Yeah, and there's an episode of Sanford and Son where, they run a junkyard together, right? And there's an episode where they start to get all these bills, these final notices in the mail. They haven't been paying the bills because Fred pulls out his pocket and he said, yeah, if there ain't no money, then the bills aren't getting paid. And so his advice to Lamont was, put it back in the mailbox. That way you never got it. Right? So you should have just stayed home.
No.
I don't think that analogy works.
It worked for me. It's pretty good, right?
No, I was working like 60-hour weeks. I needed a break.
You were the
really
you were the person that didn't.
I was the fall guy.
Well, no, you didn't have a clue going in.
I had no
to
idea.
Tonight. Yeah, which is how I had until this afternoon. So, saying all that,
I was shocked.
Well, I mean, when you cut me off. I didn't
You
get to
cut him
finish my
off.
story. I didn't get to finish my story. You cut me off. The thing was, I had seen that comment and it said Ashley wins this season, and I was like, "This is not real. It's not possible."
well, we didn't know they were for sure on this show yet.
Yeah, and then we get into the season, a couple weeks, and they show that Ashley and Hunter are part of the mercenary team, and I was like, "Oh no, they're on this season," and then. It's been in the back of my head this entire season, and I just was praying to God that it was not true because there's so many other people that I wanted to win.
Well, Hunter's going to pray for her.
Yeah. After
And
saying a whole lot of other stuff about her.
cast her in the fiery pits at the same time.
Yeah. But then going into the episode tonight, it hit me. I was like, I don't want it to be true. I really was hoping that person was just making stuff up to get people riled up. But she made it to the final. And then I was just a little bit uneasy and nervous this entire episode.
Here's what I want to say before I lose my voice and before we get too far.
Say what's on your heart.
I'm going to lay it out here. If you are one of those people that purposely looks up spoilers, fine. If you want to do that and that's what you like and whatever,
Live your life.
Live your own life, whatever. But if you are the type of person that goes out of your way to ruin things that other people enjoy, not just TV related, but like video games, sports, anything that there's an anticipation building to something and you know people don't want to know the outcome. If you're one of those people, I don't want you listening to our show.
All right, come on now. That's
the line I'm drawing because, no, I don't mind people that want to listen to spoilers. That's fine. That's your prerogative.
But if you go out of your way to ruin it for the rest of us.
Yeah, if you're trying to ruin it for people who want to genuinely enjoy it as it happens, don't care. Like that's unacceptable behavior to me.
I was really upset when I saw that comment.
Yeah,
like, I didn't want to know. I want it to be a surprise.
And you know what? I probably would feel sorry for you because if you're that type of person, you probably have a lot of other issues that go back to where you're not accepted
He's
for
sick.
you're not
He's a
accepted for
little bit
whatever
meaner
reason.
today.
Like you've got problems where you don't have any real friends, and because of that, you're like, I need people to pay attention to me, so I'm going to ruin things that other people enjoy. And for that, I don't enjoy you, and I don't want you listening to me talk about this show anymore.
This is big. Like, this is the meat of this podcast tonight. The finale is one thing, but you making a statement like this sets the tone of what's to come, I believe.
Listen, you know how when I'm sick, I say all kinds of crazy stuff?
Yeah.
He gets a little bit mean.
He gets honest.
Sick.
I used to be real mean.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
He used to be real mean, but then he married me.
No, I had to stop before that. But when I was in high school, I did not care.
I'm a lot meaner than he ever was.
You didn't know me back then.
See, I'm of the belief that we want as many people to listen to us as possible.
I'm fine with that, and I do agree with that to an extent. At the same time, if you're purposefully ruining other people's fun,
including ours.
Yeah,
you have no place here.
You have no place in our community.
Boy, that's brutal.
We are, again, people have shouted us out. We are a place of positivity. We try to be nice about things. And I don't want that in our group. I don't like it. It ruins things for other people. And I just don't get it. It's fine. Again, I'm not saying if you like spoilers that you're bad. That's your own thing. But for you to people used to do it on The Walking Dead all the time. Like,
oh, Glenn dies next week.
Yeah, or they'll be like, they'll like someone will post something on Twitter and they'll be like, T-Bone's dead. And like
T-Dog.
T-Dog, that's what I was saying.
Right.
I was trying to name someone from a long time ago. So I didn't do any recent spoilers. And people used to do that crap all the time. And like even on Facebook they would do it. They were like, can you believe that? And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, not everyone watches right at 8 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
That's my rant before I lose my voice.
Well,
okay. So
Broke Jake.
let's start out with the beginning.
let me say this. I'm shocked.
Okay, never mind.
I'm shocked that because we saw initially, and just like hearing things throughout the week, we kind of figured out like this isn't a two-parter.
Yeah,
this is one episode.
Yeah.
I had no idea until you told me.
I kind of
an
figured
hour
it was
ago.
actually only a one-parter because we thought there was way too much to do in one episode.
So just to like
I still think there was too much to do in one episode.
make one broad statement before we get into everything, like I'm shocked at how well they fit everything in
I
to a
agree.
one non-extended 1 hour episode.
Because if anything we've learned this season, MTV does not have a problem with dragging things out.
That's right.
The reunion's going to be 2 parts, so we found that out.
Yeah. Well, my thing was, by the end of tonight's episode, I was like, man, it almost felt a little bit rushed. Like, I feel like there was some stuff that they cut. Like, maybe they had an hour and a half worth of stuff, and they didn't feel like it was worth it to drag it out to a full 2 hours. So they cut it down to an hour. I felt like I was missing part of the finale.
I felt like we got everything we needed out of each leg.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like there was more to it that I would have liked to see.
Like, I didn't need to see them, like, running more for the 3K or the 4K earlier on or whatever. I mean, again, I thought the pacing was fine, personally. We had some people already reach out and say they hated the finale, which I don't think any of us are on that level at all. Hannah might be.
You don't know my thoughts. I'm trying to get to them.
So, again, we may not agree on this, and you may not agree with us, and that's fine. We don't want everyone to agree or necessarily feel like you need to, but these are just our opinions on it. We try to give unbiased, like, real-time opinions on what we just watched.
Okay, so my first note for tonight's episode was Sylvia made a final.
Well, we knew that already.
Yeah, but I mean, it was
It's a pretty anticlimactic.
I mean, like, I was excited. Sylvia this is her first time making a final, isn't it?
It's Marie's first time making a final.
Well, my second note was Marie made a final.
Josh's first time making a final.
Yeah, but Sylvia and Marie,
Hunter made one.
Marie and Sylvia have been on this
Natalie
show.
and Polly's first time making a
Have been
final.
on this show a little bit longer, and I was just excited that they made it this far. They both made it to their first final. I felt like it was about time for them. So I was really excited to see not just one, but the both of them make it.
So you had a clear-cut team you were pulling for.
Well, they're not on the same team.
Who are you talking about?
Sylvia and Marie.
Okay, sorry. I had
That's
Josh
okay.
on the brain.
Well, my next note
Who
was about
doesn't?
Josh.
He's handsome.
Who
right?
doesn't?
He's
Yeah.
a women's gift of the earth.
Yeah.
You said it.
Well, my second note was I don't think Josh would take the money from Sylvia.
No. And we talked about that 2 weeks ago, I think.
My next note was I really hope they win, Joss and Sylvia. And my thing was, like, looking at the 4 teams in this final, Polly, there's something in me that can't exactly root for him. So, I mean, there's that. And Hunter and Ashley, they've bickered and fought so much throughout this entire season. I just almost felt like they weren't really deserving of winning.
I think we all said if they win, they're the only team for sure that'll keep the money, whoever has the best time.
Yeah.
The other 3 probably have a pretty good chance of splitting it.
Yeah. Well, Cara and Marie, it's not that I can't say I wasn't rooting for them. I wanted Marie to do well, but I didn't expect them to win. Joss and Sylvia, I feel like going into it, I felt like they had a legitimate chance to win. And they've done so well together.
Spoiler, they should have won.
Yes. Yeah. I wrote that at least 4 different times. Joss and Sylvia, I think they have done so well as partners throughout the entire season. They've mostly stayed out of all of the crazy drama. They haven't gotten into fights with anybody, really. Like, Sylvia and Marie got into the one argument in the kitchen, but that was it. they've remained pretty low key, and they've done well in the dailies. And didn't they face an elimination?
Yeah, and they're the only team that's done every daily, I think.
Yeah.
They said that earlier because every other team's got a redemption.
Yeah.
That's left.
They did great this season.
Or the mercenaries came in late. That was the other thing.
But just because they continuously encouraged each other, were building each other up. They were such a great team. There's so much harmony between the two of them. And I really wanted them to win. I wanted to see them, I guess, prove to the world and to karma that if you're a good person and you're good to other people, good things happen to you.
Well, let me before we all have a lot of ways we feel about tonight's episode. Let's get into the breaking down what happened. Like, the first thing that we kind of see tonight was TJ explaining everyone's going to have grenades. He didn't explain what they were going to do, but anyone who's watched the show, unless you're new to this season, saw grenades last season. They're time penalties of some degree.
Well,
to
not
make it tougher.
necessarily time penalties. Like, some of them, like, it's a grenade, like, where you make somebody wait for 10 minutes. Others, it's like
It's a time penalty.
You give somebody a grenade where they have to chain a bowling ball to their ankle.
Which causes more time. Like, all of them are to make your time longer.
It's a disadvantage.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all to make the ultimate time longer. I mean, that's the point of them.
You guys have been flying. It's all right.
Yeah. And
36 hours of traveling.
So, again, he explains...
The day before Thanksgiving.
He explains the grenade, and then they start coming down the ladders out of the helicopter. I'll hit my little notes real quick. Joss beat Sylvia on their leg of it. They go first. Their time wasn't great, though. I think they were in the 4-minute range.
What was... Paulie said he's been training his whole life for this. Paulie's been training his whole life for a challenge final.
Paulie is not one to speak the truth about anything, so...
So you're calling him a liar?
Yeah, I mean, he's
been working... He's been training since birth
to
get on the challenge and make it to a final
I
win.
wasn't offended by that. It was just hyperbolic.
That is real contradictive of something he says later. Maybe it's not because of what happens after what he says later.
Yeah.
I thought that statement was just so stupid.
At one point, I thought he was a Hulkamaniac,
so
but being that his word is his bond, but we'll get there.
Well, okay, so that happened, and then Polly and Natalie go, and it looks like they tied. And then Hunter and Ashley go, and Hunter's got the lead, and then Ashley starts stepping on him.
And he's telling her to stop.
And so
she's like, no, I can't.
They have carabiners like on their back that look like their safety lines, like counterweighted. But he falls probably 12 feet.
She kind of kicked him off.
He lost his balance because she was trying to hurry because she knows it's an individual game.
He fell straight on his back. He hit that ground so hard. Like, my heart stopped for a second.
His safety line didn't do anything.
I thought he was going to break his back. I thought he wouldn't get up and the medics would have to come and carry him out on a stretcher. I was so nervous when that happened because that line on him is supposed to be for safety, and it was looser than the ladder hanging out of the helicopter.
I wonder if they had just gotten so close to the ground that they just loosened his rope up so he could hurry down. So it didn't hold him back at all.
Well, then
no one expected him to fall like that.
That's their fault if they did that.
I mean, he popped right up. He was like, I don't know what happened.
Well, he said he had so much adrenaline pumping that he didn't really notice it. I'm thinking maybe in about 24 hours he's going to start feeling it.
I mean, he
may be really sore.
I'd say 10 to 12 feet at least he fell.
It looked further than that.
I said 15, but
yeah. I mean,
who's counting?
Taller
right?
than a basketball goal for sure.
Yeah, which is
10.
Higher than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, especially fall around your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happens. I don't know if that means he won that leg or if
he did hit the ground a lot quicker than she did.
So, I mean.
I hope they gave it to him.
I don't know how that worked out in the time at the end.
That's really funny, though.
But then Cara and Marie go, God love Marie, but she was so far behind.
Well, she even said, I'm sorry that I'm your partner.
Yeah, and again, I think she knows for all of the stuff Marie's been, she's never been a fan favorite coming in, and this season that's really turned.
It has.
Yeah.
But
did we have anything to do with that? Did we help the tide turn on Marie?
I don't know. I think we were on the front end of it. I think we were on the front end.
Because she turned us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
She turned us, and especially when we had her on.
And I told her and like I wasn't trying to be mean about it. I was just like, we haven't been a fan of yours going into this. Like, we just didn't know what you brought to the table, and we love Marie now.
She brings a lot of humor to the table.
Yeah, and this season, like, let her shine in ways that she never has before.
Yeah, I think it was really great for her.
But saying that, she was the one that slowed Cara down.
Well, she got a little frozen at the top of the ladder.
She doesn't like heights.
Honestly, I get really dizzy and lightheaded around heights. Like, I don't like 2-story malls. Like, when I'm on the second story, I'm on the opposite side of the opening where I graze my shoulder up against the walls of the storefronts to get away from the edge because it makes me that dizzy. So, honestly, I think if I were having to do that, climb down a ladder off of a helicopter, I think I would have the exact same reaction that Marie did.
Here's the thing. You would not do a final. You're afraid of way too many things. You couldn't do it.
God.
You don't
Jake,
know.
we just went to Disneyland. She can't ride rides.
Oh,
I rode so many rides.
She rode the carousel.
I was about to say, you can say you rode a lot of rides. What rides did you ride?
She rode the carousel.
The teacup.
And the teacup.
Say, that's exactly, yep.
We did the Buzz Lightyear one where you shoot the lasers. And then
she wouldn't do the Roger Rabbit ride, which was basically the same thing.
I took my niece to go see Minnie Mouse in her Minnie Mouse
You walked over
house.
there with us, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Well, it was underground. Every bad experience on a roller coaster I have had, it has been an underground roller coaster where I did not know beforehand it was roller coaster.
Anyway,
I've been traumatized twice
Hannah
in my life.
She just told you she can't walk on the second floor of a mall, and I can attest to that because she would make me walk on the inside, like towards where the glass that like overlooks the.
Well, they tell you too that if you're a real gentleman, when you're walking on the street, you'll walk on the outside.
Yeah.
You know why?
As if so that you'll be the first to get run over.
Yeah.
No,
if anything happens.
That's not why.
That's not why?
No. Back in the 1800s.
I think this got disproved. I know where you're going with it.
Back in the 1800s, before there was indoor plumbing, if you really had to go, people would go in pots in the corner of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then certain times of the day, the person would have to dump the pot.
That's right.
They would do it out the window, and so they would yell out beforehand. And if the woman was on the inside closest to the building, she's not going to get poured on. It'll be the gentleman.
I think that got disproved, but I may be wrong on that. But I remember that.
I learned that in school, in a history class.
Not everything they teach you in school is correct. Am I right?
Well, we were in the South, and the Klan was very...
Boy, where are we going?
Where are you going with this?
The history of the Klan was very watered down, so where you didn't think it was that bad.
All right.
But I am biracial and I know the truth, and I was like, this is not right. This is not right.
Well, speaking of the final, here one quick note before we go on past the ladder. Cara way ahead of Marie, probably 40 feet difference.
Yeah.
She, ultimately, it's individual time. Cara waited until Marie got down to her level and they finished at the same time. I thought that was a little admirable.
That I don't think I noticed that part, but I noticed something later on that was nice.
But that was before Cara lost her mind and whatever.
When Marie got frozen at the top of the ladder, you could tell that Cara was a little peeved. She was frustrated, but she still waited for her partner.
She knew that she can't win if Marie doesn't compete.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool of her to wait on Marie.
A lot of foreshadowing on that ladder.
Yes, and so then we go to a 4K run. Do you have the name of that one?
No.
I just wrote 4K run.
Okay.
Did it have a name?
Yeah, it did.
Well, I wrote down, so they're suddenly bringing back the grenades. This is a super confusing season. Have you noticed, I think we've talked about it before, they're bringing in different things kind of haphazardly. It's been very messy this season.
Haphazardly.
Did you say haphazardly?
Yeah. It's only half of the hazard.
No, again, they're trying.
It's been messy.
They're trying to incorporate all the parts of the quote trilogy, and
but they didn't.
We've said it a million times.
They didn't do it well.
They've done way too much.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like TJ said something about they're gonna have a grenade, and I thought, I feel like they brought in grenades once or twice earlier this season, but didn't say anything about it or didn't explain it, and then they just didn't say that they weren't going to do it again. It's just it's been a hot mess.
But they have had probably every elimination. Like there's been if you complete this leg first, then you can throw this amount of time at that person or what. They just, I guess this time.
I will say I had no problem with the grenades in the finale personally.
I was okay with the grenades.
I was
because
fine
it's a
with it.
Strategic play.
I was.
It blew up at the end.
I was totally fine with them having grenades in the final. What I didn't like was just the fact that they had brought it in for one or two daily challenges just in the middle of the season.
Yeah, because like Cam and Kaylee got one time,
and it's so freaking messy. This season was a hot mess.
You're not happy with it, huh?
Not really. I mean, it was entertaining enough, but production wise, it was a hot mess, and they need to take a minute and regroup and think about their organization and their planning before they head into the next season, which they've already done that. Oh, but they need to sit down and take some notes.
Speaking of, real quick, I meant to talk about this up top. Apparently last week, the elimination with Johnny and Tony against Natalie and Polly.
Yes.
They had done a whole separate elimination the night before. And production called it in the middle of it. And they're like, hey, we're not going to do this anymore.
Why?
They didn't get into specifics, but Tony and Bananas and some others from the cast said, yes, this happened. And there was a picture that leaked of it. It was a different elimination. It was not just... Well, that's why it felt so disjointed. It was like, this eating challenge has nothing to do with the rest of it. They threw that together last minute. They're like, oh, crap, we have these two big teams. Because Polly and Natalie are coming back from redemption or whatever, working their way back to the final. Then you got Johnny and Tony, who's, a powerhouse team. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we got to make this a big finale. And that's why it felt really disjointed. But apparently Tony and Bananas were winning the one the night before it got called. So there's going to be controversy about this season regardless. Weird note, I just happened to think about it whenever you said disjointed or whatever.
That elimination was also a hot mess.
Yeah, we talked.
It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, we talked about it at length last week. Again, this season, now looking back on it, we'll probably do a retrospective of this season, kind of our thoughts on it.
I think that's a good idea.
I think this was a good season. Watching back now, I think now that I know the beginning to the end, I think we all thought the first was a little weird. But
because you guys had concerns those first two or three episodes,
because the pacing was very strange. But now seeing it as a whole, and it's what Marie told us, however many months ago, she said
she did, and we took her word on it.
She said
she was right.
She said it's about to get crazy, and knowing what I know about the finale, there's no way they can make this bad.
So from now on, anytime Marie gives us her word on anything
we're
going to believe it.
I think Shane said the same thing. He's like, this is not, you can't make this a bad finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to look back at the season and be like, wow, that's crazy. Or it was, intense or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so they do a 4K run. Polly blast out right away.
He's made for him.
He's a soccer player. This is what he's made for.
Yeah, but he even said so himself. He's like, I'm just going to take off without Natalie.
Because he knew, he's like, it's an individual race. Because
she was ahead of everyone else too.
Yeah, they were number one and number two, and she was probably 30 yards behind him.
Yeah.
So
he took off without her, which says a lot about him and their partnership. Joss and Sylvia were right behind him. Joss could have way outrun.
Joss waited.
I think he could have outrun Pauly. He waited on Sylvia. They ran together.
Pauly said he would have shared the money, but at the same time, he also said, I don't want to leave that choice in her hands.
Because in his mind,
she would take
it. Well,
it.
now that we see what she did later, I think she might have.
Well, I think Pauly knew her a little bit better than
he spent
we did.
3 months in redemption with her.
I think he was also thinking too, we're still going to get first.
Yes.
Because she's well ahead of everyone else.
And she said, cardio is my thing, long distance running. And she was winning.
And they would have finished first.
And that's the thing. She was running, and she wasn't breaking a sweat. She wasn't slowing down. She knew how to pace herself well. She was going like a train.
She just forgot to see Polly ahead of her and didn't look at the sign. And she veered off. And then Sylvia and Josh were like, what's she doing?
Yeah, I wrote down, I really don't see how Natalie missed that sign. But then they showed her a little bit after I wrote that. And she had her eyes closed while she was running. And I think she just had her eyes closed most of the way.
She just got in the zone and was like, this is a straight path. I'm just going to keep running. And
yeah.
The funny thing is production just letting it happen.
I think if they would have stepped in, it would have been very controversial. I think if they step in, that's a very bad move on their part.
Well, Joss and Sylvia watched her do it, and Joss said something about that's a time penalty.
They must have told him you can't veer off the course, which again, they cut out a lot of stuff. They probably said you have to stay on the trail if you like try to do shortcuts. It's a 5-minute penalty. He's like, it's a 5-minute penalty. But honestly, like looking back, it probably was way longer than that because everybody finished before Natalie was even close.
It seemed like she was 15 minutes behind
like Marie
and Cara.
Marie was pretty far back there, and then they still beat them.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I wrote down during this lap, this round, this race, I wrote down Cara Maria is like the ultimate partner. She's been nothing but encouraging to Marie. Will she come be my personal trainer? ?
And then,
because Marie, she was kind of getting in her own head about the whole ladder thing. She obviously wasn't quite over it yet, and she's not really into running. I don't think it's something that she just enjoys doing. And so she was a little bit slower than everybody else. And Cara kind of stuck with her, and she's like, you're doing great. You can do this. And it was awesome. And I thought to myself, if I had someone like that with me, like in the gym when I'm it's not something I'm good at, like running or working out. If I had someone telling me you're doing great, keep it up, encouraging me like that, I think I would do really well.
Here's the thing,
I'd feel a lot better about myself.
Cara in the beginning of the finale and the end of the finale are
two different people.
Two completely different people. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. And here's what I wrote about this. Natalie got off course, which is insane that happened. They blew that lead.
She's honestly the only person that got off course.
It probably cost them the game.
No, I think they definitely win.
Because they were within 2 minutes.
Yep.
And so that happens. But I also, so playing devil's advocate, I don't think the other people would have jumped off the towers. They did that because they knew Natalie was so far behind everyone else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
They say we've got a buffer there. So anyway, at that point, Natalie starts crying. She's apologizing. I wrote, she's not built for this.
No. She mentally and emotionally, she's not built for the challenge.
I was just like, she's too nice. This isn't her thing. She's not competitive enough.
I wouldn't say she's too nice. I say she's too soft.
Well, she changed my mind later on.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact that she sat down and started crying. Did you see Marie was not hiding her laughter? Marie was laughing at her. And I was like, this is everything.
Yeah, so Josh and Sylvia win that. I mean, you have something else about that?
No, just the thing is, though Natalie's devastated, right?
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
I mean, literally, it cost him $1 million.
Paulie, your guy Paulie, is being supportive.
Well, he was, and then he was like, "Get the up." He was like, "Get your head in the game."
That was the tough love.
It was like your head coach.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. It wasn't mean,
but he was a little aggravated.
Well,
for sure.
I mean, they went from first place to last.
Yeah, for sure.
And this was the first time we saw, if you're just looking at who finished ahead of who on each team, this is where we saw Ashley first take.
Yes, Hunter.
The lead on Hunter.
Well, because again, we don't know what happened with the ladder. We still don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens. They then transition to this final stand, which is like a little. It looks like almost like an oil rig. Like it's like this tiny little tower.
I've always said this is the mark of a great final when you've got to stand on something for hours.
Endurance, yeah. It's because it's a mental endurance too. Like it's physical, but you also have to like you're in close quarters. Like all the good finales have something like that.
Yep.
And so.
Well, when they showed the platforms and they showed how small it was that they had to stand on, and they said they had to stand on them together.
Yeah.
I just thought these platforms are so tiny. How is Hunter going to do this?
Well, I thought immediately Paulie and Natalie had the advantage because Paulie's not very big. He's like, what, 5'7", 5'8", and Natalie's 4'11", and they had the advantage space-wise. Kara's not small. Like she's just broad and she's pretty tall. She's probably what 5'7", 5'8". And
Yeah, something like that.
Marie's
she's almost 6 foot.
I don't think she's that tall. But
she's a lot taller than Kara.
She is taller than Kara, and she's broad, and she's not overweight or anything, but she's just like she's not small. Like her feet are big.
Well, she
like,
told us herself, she's like, I'm just built big.
Yeah, and like I knew from they're gonna struggle. One, because they don't really like each other, but two, I did think Ashley and Hunter were gonna have more of a problem than what they did.
Well, once they showed all 4 teams standing on their platforms, Hunter and Ashley were really still. Joss and Sylvia didn't move at all. Polly and Natalie were just about the same. Kara and Marie never stopped moving.
Well, Kara's like, you're pushing me over, and Marie's like, I'm not even moving. Whatever.
Well, the fact that they never stopped moving, Kara never even had her second foot on the platform, I knew immediately that they would be the first to fall.
Well, here's my take on it. So, like, the first person that falls, you have a 10-minute penalty. Second, 5. Third place, 2.5. Ultimately, like, Kara and Marie went down like what? Not even an hour in.
Yeah.
And everyone else stayed for like 5 hours. I would have much rather almost taken the penalty, got an early night's rest, like what they kind of seemed to do. Now I wouldn't have gotten drunk like they did. That was just them being mad at each other and whatever. But
and then trying to screw up the other teams.
But like, I mean, literally, like they only had like a 5-minute difference between them and Josh and Sylvia.
Yeah.
And then Ashley and Hunter were right behind it. I mean, like, it really wasn't that big of a penalty. In the long run, like, those people, like, suffered for 5 hours.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it would have been smarter if Joss and Sylvia had fallen right after Marie and Kara, because then they could have obviously eaten and rested, because Joss could make it up, right?
Yeah, but hindsight on that's kind of 2020, like, you don't know what the other teams are going to do. So
yeah. Well, my other thing about that was, why do they get a nice house and it seemed like nice rooms and beds?
Well, they were in tents, to be fair, but there was a nice area.
It was too nice. These other finals we've watched, especially watching the older ones, when they're in tents, they're in sleeping bags.
Yeah.
On the ground.
Sometimes on rocks, sometimes like on frozen ground, and whoever does the best gets the more heat.
And what was it? 4 or 5 seasons ago, where they were literally in a shack sleeping in hammocks?
I don't remember.
It was Camilla and Corey. Maybe CT was there too. I just know they were out in the open, not enclosed anywhere, in hammocks.
Yeah.
And
it is weird that they had like nice food and then like 6 bottles of wine.
Ashley was eating 2 pieces of pizza.
Yeah.
It just that was an immediate halt for me when they showed that once they fell off, they got to go into this seemingly nice house from what we saw and have access to 6 bottles of wine in the fridge and good food, and then going to sleep in nice beds. It was just, I didn't like that. If you're competing in a challenge final for $1 million, especially this season where it's just the one team that wins, second place doesn't get anything, you shouldn't be sleeping kind of luxuriously.
I think what they should have done, instead of it being just a like 10-minute, 5-minute, 2.5-minute penalty, whoever stayed the longest got the nicer like rooms for the nights. So that gives you more of an incentive to stay.
That's what they did for one of the older seasons where CT and Diem won. They lasted the longest, and they were sleeping in the Arctic, and so they got like a fur rug and the really nice insulated sleeping bag. The person that made last place got like a blanket.
Yeah, and going back to the whole standing thing, like Marie and Cara come out and they try to start heckling people. This is when Cara starts to change her mind and then also shows she's on Polly and Natalie's side.
Well, yeah, they came out trying to heckle the other teams and ended up heckling each other.
Well, and because she didn't want Marie talking about it, and Marie starts saying how Polly, whatever, and then they show Polly, me and Cara never did anything but cuddle, and literally everyone else is like, come on.
They showed footage of her topless, laying in his bed. He's topless.
I didn't see that.
They're moving around under the blanket.
Who has the better sex description?
Out of who?
Sylvia or Ashley?
Well, you liked Sylvia's.
I did like Sylvia's.
Yeah, it's again, like I don't think it matters one way or the other, but
That's what you think.
but again, everyone knew that they were hooking up, and
Everybody
Paulie
knew.
just didn't want to admit it because he's like, oh, maybe they're not going to show it. I can still save face and stay with my girlfriend. He was like, we didn't do anything. Again, I just wrote, well, Paulie's lying about this. I mean, but it's what he's been doing. I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, this is the thing that gets me. If he is so blatantly lying about that to everybody, just completely denying it, when everyone knows truth, fact, it's real. Why did Joss Sylvia didn't, but why did Joss believe him when he said they wouldn't throw their grenade at him?
Well, to Paulie's credit, he really I don't think he wanted to.
No,
I think he does value that type of thing. I think he also was just like, I don't want to screw up my relationship back home, even though I'm too horny to not do anything about it. But because of that, Paulie and Natalie win basically by forfeit. They kind of talk the other teams into quitting and say, Josh, Sylvia, if you quit now, you've got our word 100% on my family's life. We will not throw a grenade at you.
What a way to go about
Well,
it. Right?
Josh prefaced it. He's like, on your family's like name and on their life, Paulie, yes, I would never do that to you.
like he opened his eyes and was like, yes.
And I think that meant a lot to Josh.
Regardless, to convince two teams to jump off their platforms and take a
big
time
deal.
penalty,
Yeah.
that's
Like
a skill.
It's a big deal in a final.
You don't want to admit it.
No, I don't think that. I agree. It's a great move, but I don't think they would have gotten that if people didn't see how bad Natalie screwed up literally the leg before. I think,
Absolutely.
I think that's just what it came down
that's
to.
a lot of it. I think they thought no matter what, they're still
They both had the lead on them.
in good standing. But I mean, even Sylvia prefaced it. She's like, I am afraid we're about to make a huge mistake. But if Joss feels like we should make this decision, then I'm just going to go with him. And I think Joss is so perfect in so many ways, but this is his biggest fault. He is so like a golden retriever. He's going to trust
That's an American dog.
Yes.
It is.
But it's the best way to explain it. Those dogs, they're going to trust everybody on the planet. And then
Hearts of gold, those dogs.
and I really do think that Joss has a heart of gold because he has taken everybody's word. I don't know if you've noticed this season when people promise him something, he's like, "Okay,
No,
I'm down."
I think he
and he's loyal.
Yeah, I think he himself is that way, and so he hopes other people will treat him.
Well,
that
here's
way.
my
Exactly.
Here's
And
my question.
He's been so disappointed so many times by that, and it just hurts me.
Here's my question: is that if, according to you, it is true that women gave the earth Josh, what you're saying is that women gave him this heart of gold.
He's in tune with his emotions. He's a soft-hearted man.
So what you would say is that he kind of carries on the emotional conditions of a woman, correct?
I'm not going to comment on this.
No, I'm not
You're
alluding
gonna
to anything.
We're going to get so many letters.
Oh my gosh! Listen,
I wouldn't say he's emotional like a woman. Not all women are.
men have emotional tendencies. Women have emotional tendencies. Is that true or not?
I plead the fifth.
Okay.
I just think Joss is a little more sensitive than you expect him to be.
I think he's just a nice person. Like he's on a
No,
reality.
he's a nice guy.
I think he's on a reality show, but he's a nice guy.
He's so genuine in every way,
And he's handsome while doing it.
And he's
Let's
easy.
be honest.
He's easy on the eyes.
And that accent
He's
goes a long way too.
He's got one of the British accents that it just sounds smooth. It doesn't sound like annoying or even like American accents. There's very different dialects to them.
Right.
Like New York is not the same as like Texas or Wisconsin or whatever. Like there's some British accents that are like they're kind of hard on the ears to listen to.
well, you can't really understand.
Yeah,
all of them.
and like I like him and I like Kyle's. Kyle's accent's very different.
They're like
Joss.
polar opposites.
Yeah.
But again, Joss, he's just too trusting, and he just it's to a fault that he took Paulie's word, because I mean, look, it cost him $500,000 because you know for a fact he wasn't going to take Sylvia's half away.
Well, yeah.
He was going to split it right down the middle with her.
Well, in all these other moments that Sylvia's taken a stand on some things when it has come to their team, this was the time. Sorry, that she should have been more firm on that gut feeling.
Yeah. She should have said no. Oh, how I wish she had said no.
So after that, they sleep for the night. The next morning, we don't know how early it is. It was like sometimes they wake them up like 4:30 in the morning. This was like 9 o'clock.
It looks like they got to sleep in, which I think is, again, this is a final. Like, what were they?
That traveling's really got hand on edge tonight.
Well, I'm real mad at production.
You know, you could probably send them an email, right?
Yeah, probably can. So they go into the next thing. It's an eating challenge.
Another good one.
That's not what you want to start your day off with, to be fair.
That's a good one,
but
though.
at least they didn't have to get up at 5 a.m. and then do it.
32 plates.
Which is a lot.
And whoever finishes first, they stop everyone else, and however many plates you haven't finished per team, you have a time penalty.
1 minute penalty.
1 minute per plate. So,
well, my thing was, I guess I didn't see everything that was on the plates before they started, because the ones that they did show up close, I was like, oh, that's not too bad.
Oh no, they're all bad.
I don't
That's
know.
not too
Those look
bad.
pretty
They're all
awful.
bad.
When you got food with hair on it, that's a problem.
It was a mix of something from every country they've done the last few seasons.
Yeah, and I was thinking, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be until they got to the plate of worms, and then I had to close my eyes and wait for it to be over. I couldn't watch.
That was the worst to you? The worms? I feel like I'd eaten the worms over anything else.
No. When it rains really bad here and it's still warm outside, they come out of my garden in my front yard.
Causes the worms to rise.
And they crawl across my walkway to the car. I won't go outside. I will not leave the house.
Literally, like a couple weeks ago, there was a slug that was like 2.5 inches long.
Oh, I hate those worse than worms.
In front of, like...
I can't even say the word.
Our sidewalk's like 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
Like...
It's not 3 feet. It's like 1.5.
Regardless, plenty of room to walk around. And it's this big. She wouldn't come on. And she just stood out in the rain without moving.
Well,
and I was in the car waiting on her, and I just left her after a while.
Well, slugs aren't known for their speed either.
Exactly. They're not going to get
or
you.
the quickness.
They're faster than you think.
They're slower than I think you think.
Well, I've been traumatized by that. I used to not have a problem until one time we were in the process of moving from Memphis. My parents were still trying to sell our house. So we got a rental house in the town that we were moving to. It was a piece of crap. And
you can say crap on here.
Every time it rained, I mean, it was like a den for the
lines,
the things. And so they would be literally everywhere. You could not make one step without stepping on one. And one time we had to leave the house to go somewhere, and it was dark. It was already nighttime, and I had to run to the vehicle. So I ran and jumped in, and about 5 minutes down the road, I feel like my leg is wet, and I was like, oh, that's weird. So I pull my jean up to my knee, and there's one crawling up my leg. And I screamed a blood-curdling scream, and
oh man, those are the worst.
It was the end of the world. My dad almost wrecked the car because he thought I was dying, which I felt like I was. So I literally took my pants off in the car and just like scraped them up against the side of my leg to get the thing off. And I I never put those pants on ever again.
It's funny why you said that. Zach actually started taking his pants off just now.
I haven't moved.
So the worms that was the worst. That was the worst plate by far.
Medicine.
I'm sorry, guys. I really
man.
am.
By far, that was the worst plate.
No, I think the worms like would have been one of the easier out of the few.
I didn't know they tasted like nail polish.
Yeah,
I thought they were supposed to taste like dirt.
That's why you just swallow them whole, right?
Yeah, that's
don't
kinda,
bite.
But
Don't bite
then
into
they
worms.
crawl around.
Stomach acid.
Your
will get
stomach
them.
acid would kill us. They're not parasites; they're just worms. But anyway,
Not like a ringworm.
Some of them are parasites.
so they do that. Ashley and Hunter win. But also,
Well, Hunter
they had
ate
thrown-
Like, Hunter ate like everything.
they used their grenade
Right.
on Josh Sylvia, and so they had to drink that weird fermented like milk.
Fish. There's some
Fish milk.
fish
Well,
something, yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, Hunter, he answered first, and he said he didn't want to throw one. And Ashley popped up, and she's like, "Yeah, Joss and Sylvia."
It was the right move. They won. They won the whole game.
I mean,
Well, because it turned out it was only a minute like in their favor, right?
Yeah.
Because they were only...
but they won by what?
The penalty.
40, they won by 40
The penalty
seconds.
was 11 minutes, and then of course going into the next one, Joss and Sylvia used their grenade. So like that
They
won it for
by
them.
40 seconds. That move won them the game.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into
There's a
what.
lot of things that won them that game, but that's one of them.
I think when it happened, Joss was not. I don't think he was mad or anything. I think it just kind of added a little bit of a fire underneath him. It hurt Sylvia.
Well, that Ashley's her friend.
It tore her. They're supposed to be like best friends.
That was the first like backstab of like, hey, and Ashley said like, listen, I love her, but I love us having the money more, and that's what it is. And I don't blame her. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it is what it is. And
If I were gonna win $1 million in a challenge final, I would want to do it right, with honor and dignity.
again, you wouldn't make
and
it to a
clear
final.
conscience.
You would not make it to a final.
But the thing is, Joss and Sylvia decided not to throw a grenade for this food challenge. I think that was the right call. I was hoping that they would save it for the very last leg.
I don't think saving it for the last. Like we all kind of thought that might work out, but like you needed to throw it earlier on than what they did.
I think if they had thrown it back to Hunter and Ashley at the last one, I think they could have won because Joss found that key a lot quicker than I thought he would.
I think,
and then he matched it with Sylvia's.
I think,
so she could get
I think
out.
somebody should have done the weighted vest on the standing challenge. They should have thrown that grenade because if you're like Cara and Marie, throw that on one of those teams is gone, and you're working with a way better chance because that'll weigh on you after. I mean, they didn't say how much weight it would be, but it would literally weigh on you. And they said their bones were killing them and like they couldn't feel their feet.
Yeah, Hunter said, "I don't even feel my feet anymore. I feel like I'm standing on my leg bones."
Yeah. So
That sounds bad, right?
That sounded weird.
So then the next thing is a 3K race.
Not quite a 4K.
Yeah, it's called like the Savannah Sprint. Or
That was
something.
it. You got it.
And so
It was.
Josh and Sylvia used their grenade on Hunter and Ashley because they did the one before. It's a 10-minute penalty, which again they got an 11-minute one from the time before, so it evens out to a 1 minute total. Like it was a wash other than a minute.
Yeah. Not quite what they needed.
No, and Natalie and Polly win the race. Now here's the thing: if Josh Sylvia wouldn't have used that, like Hunter and Ashley would have like blown this apart.
Oh yeah.
You
like-
think?
Yeah, they won by like 40 seconds, but they got a 10-minute penalty like right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Joss and Sylvia just they did so well in this because like even getting the grenade in the food challenge, they still came in second.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah,
And then,
but again, Marie, you knew Marie doesn't like doing this. She's done these before. She sucks at them. I mean, it is what it is. She doesn't like the food challenges. She doesn't like a lot of the challenges, to be honest. But
we like her.
Yeah. So
This is where we start to see. I mean, we saw it the night before during the standing challenge, and this is where Cara's really starting to get more verbal with her hatred.
and even in the interviews, which happened after this is already filmed, like she's like, I hate.
It's sad, man, because you see
They kind of turned that corner.
they did, and then
I thought they were friends.
They're crying together, they're hugging each other, and then now we've gotten to this.
And I think they
You
legitimately
know?
both do not like each other at
Yeah.
this point.
Oh, absolutely. But my thing is, I legitimately thought that they were friends, and it was all it took was Marie kind of joking about Pauline, his girlfriend, back home, and I think it upset Cara. I
Well-
don't know why she's mad about that because I mean she kind of played a part, but
First of all, let's pause that.
Here we go.
Cara played 50% of that part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not she kind of played a part in it.
I'm just saying I don't understand why Cara is mad at Marie for bringing it up if she's participating in the wrongfulness.
Because she doesn't want to admit that it was wrong.
Yeah, not a lot of people like for the truth to come out all the times.
But for Cara to start throwing away a friendship, two, a partnership that's gonna potentially win her another challenge in $1 million.
Well, let's also be fair. it is what it is. We love Marie. Marie was the worst person in this final. Cara already had it weighing on her that she wasn't going to win any money because of who her partner was.
Marie was the worst competitor. She wasn't the worst person in this
No,
final.
but that's what I mean. Like, I mean,
I think Natalie was the worst person.
And
in this final.
Cara knew that she wasn't going to make any money. She already knew they were so far behind and what was coming up.
Yeah,
she was just over. She was just going to do whatever she could to help Polly and Natalie.
I understand. It's just the way that she reacted. It kind of hurt me, and I was a little bit confused because I thought that they had grown into something, and it's like after that conversation that Marie brought up and Cara getting, I guess, defensive and a little mad. It's like they went to bed, and when she woke up, it's like it was like a Jekyll and Hyde thing, and. What?
Jekyll.
That's what I said.
Did you say Jekyll?
You said Jekyll.
Well,
That's a Spider-Man villain.
It's I know what it is. I have the book. I've read it I don't know how many times. I'm tired. I can't say words right. But you understand, it was like she was a different person when she woke up. And it was like she slept on the hatred or slept on her anger, and it developed into like a bitterness.
This was Cara this whole season, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and I will say, I was planning on talking tonight when we were watching it. Cara's turned the corner to come back to be the person that we all kind of liked before the season. Like, I mean, we all were fans of her before the season started.
And then the first couple
she started out real weird. Then she kind of turned back around to being likable and working with Marie.
I'm telling you, the last 3 to 4 weeks of this season, I was back on Team Cara.
Well, she's flipped right back the other way now, and
now she's full on, right?
I think she's like it is what it is. It coincides with Polly.
Yeah. I don't know if that's on purpose or coincidental.
So we get to the final, what's quote the final reckoning, which honestly it was a little bit of a letdown that's the final thing. It was not as bad as Invasion of the Champions, where they held on to a water thing, whatever.
You think this wasn't that big a deal? You call up Pam Beasley, see what she says about it.
Oh, okay.
She did it. She was the only.
Never.
She was the only one that did it.
I was thinking the water one.
Jake, you never get my references.
I'm gonna have to get you a cough button.
You could just give me a shot in my butt.
I don't do that.
My hip.
I literally
the cocktail shot.
Jake,
right?
I still have a black bruise on me from that.
Black bruise.
It was almost 2 weeks ago that I got that shot.
Sounds like a finishing move.
Anyway, no, that final part of the final was such a letdown. It would have been really cool if it was 10 yards of it,
or if there's a puzzle on each side, right?
Yeah.
And you got to keep going back across.
I agree.
Oh, that would have been freaking awesome.
All right, see. New MTV production right here.
It should not have been like you just walk across it one time and that's it.
We should absolutely be production for the next
Making
couple
TV
seasons.
better.
I will say though, this is where the finale got the most interesting of the night.
Well, first of all, the cave they were in looked freaking cool.
Well, that's not what I mean at all.
But it did.
But
fire
you had
emoji,
to admit
right?
it looked
Fire
it looked
emoji,
pretty.
right?
It looked pretty #fire.
Yeah.
So it comes down to there's two teams left that still have grenades, Cara and Marie, and then Polly and Natalie.
Yeah.
And Polly, genuinely is conflicted. If he's not, then he's the most sociopath I've ever seen in my life, which he might be.
No, I felt in my heart that he did not want to do it.
I legitimately felt like he was he felt like he was betraying himself.
Which is big to you, right?
It is. It honestly is, because I want to. This is the first time I think I've seen where I was like, this is him being 100% genuine. It
was like the real Polly that we've only seen once or twice this entire season.
He tried to give his word, and now he's having to go back on it.
Well, because you had deemed that this being a guy that posts Joker emojis, you're out on him. This guy isn't a guy that operates based off his heart's desire.
Well, to be fair, he's in character most of the time. And
you're big on his character.
Yeah,
condescending remarks.
Because it rubbed off on you.
It did it.
And so, again, this was, I think he was genuinely conflicted. And then Natalie was like, we should do it on them. They're in first place. And
She said that without skipping a beat.
Yeah, I wrote Natalie's being the evil one, and I was like, I never expected that.
If anything, I expected it to be the other way around.
And Paulie was genuinely conflicted, but if you notice, TJ kept coming back. Paulie, what are you going to do? He wanted him to make the choice, and
yeah,
because TJ rather knows how to make good TV.
Yeah, and so.
But also, I think it's the fact that you can't let just the one teammate make the decision. It's got to be a joint decision because you're in a partnership.
Yeah, and so he's like, I go with my teammate. He
had to verbally confirm,
and that put Josh and Sylvia in this like shackles, which basically had 32 keys or something.
Listen, when he said, I'm going to go with my partner, Josh and Sylvia, did you see something break in Josh? He started crying.
They were devastated.
Josh started crying, and then I started crying, and then I was really upset, and I wrote, I freaking wish that Josh and Sylvia would still win.
They almost did. Like this,
they almost did.
This cost them. And here's we'll get into that in a minute. Cara and Marie have one left. Marie's like, toss it on Paulie and Natalie.
Yeah, and I was like, yes, Marie, yes, do it. Let's go.
And Cara was like, no, we're not going to do that. Because, again, she just has a hard-on for Paulie, and she's not going to do anything to devastate that.
Well,
So
I really wish that TJ would have just let Marie make the decision.
Well, you literally just said it had to be a group
decision. I know,
decision.
it had to be a group decision, but if he had let Natalie make the decision, I wish Marie could have been the one to throw it back.
And here's what makes Marie so great. This is why we love Marie, is because Cara goes on to say, you're the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And Marie comes back with, I'm going to keep happening to you if you don't shut up.
Yeah,
that's why we love Marie.
That was funny.
It's that New York toughness.
Let's be clear, it's not because she said it to Cara. It's just, that's Marie.
It's because she said it.
You know?
And I agree. And so they go across. Everyone walks across. Josh and Sylvia struggle to find the keys.
Josh finds it and then shows it to Sylvia, matches her so she can get out quick. So she's not still waiting.
Yeah, and so it's a team. Like they have to get across before the time stops. And so they go across. They start counting down. TJ's like Cara and Marie. They're in fourth place, and it was at 104 minutes and 28 seconds.
I wrote not surprised.
They were like 30 minutes behind everyone else.
Yeah.
And
then in third place,
Natalie and Paulie.
That's like instant karma. Instant.
I wrote they sold their souls to the devil and have nothing to show for it.
I gave you the second half.
Well,
I don't remember that.
I wrote in all caps, they deserved this.
I do think they deserved it. That they didn't even they weren't even in the top two, and it made them show their true colors. I do think Paulie, I'll give him credit. He was very conflicted.
He tried to fight her on it,
but
he didn't want to do it. I wish they had given it to Hunter and Ashley.
He showed everyone from here on out, if I need to, I'm going to cut you down even if we make deals.
So here's what happened is that this is Paulie's first time on the challenge.
Yeah.
And what he did is not only did you create probably forever enemies in Josh and Sylvia.
Legitimate.
But what you've also done now is you've set a precedent in that you can't be trusted going forward.
Exactly.
And so you can try to make all the deals you want to. This is going to be...
This move literally did not benefit them enough to make them win, and it cost Josh and Sylvia $1 million.
The two most deserving people, the one most deserving team out of this entire finale, I wrote out of just about every partnership in this entire season.
So Natalie and Paulie's time was 71-33.
Mm-hmm.
Josh and Sylvia 69-43. And Hunter and Ashley was 69-03. So 40 seconds separated them. It had to take them at least a minute and a half to get the chains off and walk across. So that legitimately cost them the $1 million.
I am heartbroken over it.
I legitimately think Josh and Sylvia, if they come back in future seasons, like this is a real rivalry. Like this is like real life implications.
I'm telling you, I think Josh may, over time be more forgiving. I don't think Sylvia's ever going to let this down. And I don't blame her. I hope she doesn't. I hope that she remembers this forever and she does everything she can. If Natalie decides to show her face at the challenge again, she does everything she can to take her out.
Do you still devote any of your time to building things?
I haven't recently, but I'm trying
We've
to
been
get back
busy
into it.
like crazy. We have no time for anything.
I think the perfect Christmas gift for her is if you go out and build for Hannah,
Oh.
if you wanted to go out and build a choo-choo train with
not building a
Josh and Sylvia names and faces on the side of either side of each train.
You want him to
So 2 trains.
to build me 2 trains?
Yeah. So when they come back on the challenge, she can start on her hop train again and go choo-choo every time.
How large are these trains?
Yeah, you just throw them above your head and start
What?
So
flying around like spaceships.
Here's the thing. We're not going to get into spoilers or anything yet. I legitimately don't know if either of them are coming back.
Joss and Sylvia?
Yeah.
But would that or would that not be a great gift? If he made you a couple little choo-choo trains.
I don't know. I've asked for some other things for Christmas.
I see what I can't do.
I want a robot vacuum that will clean my floors for me because I hate just about more than anything, I hate sweeping.
That's
no,
not
I'm
true.
okay with sweeping.
She hates slugs.
There, yeah.
When it comes to cleaning my house, I hate sweeping.
Don't put a slug on the train.
Anyway, I'm tore up over this.
We can tell.
I'm physically hurting for them because Joss and Sylvia should have won. And my thing is, Joss is so good at the challenge. Like, he doesn't really have to try very hard to not be good. But I mean,
He doesn't have to try hard to look good either.
no, he doesn't have to do anything to look
This
good.
is only his second season.
Hey, he looked good in the first season.
Listen, his first season, I think he could have made it to a final if he didn't have to go up against Derek.
You're pointing at Zach like it's his fault.
Well, and Josh in that elimination against Derek, which was great, he thought time was up, and he like let up or
He
something.
thought he heard a whistle.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
And so I think if he didn't have to go up against Derek, he would have made it to that final. He probably could have won. I think he should have won this final, and I just hope and pray that he comes back because he's an awesome competitor. He's great at everything.
Yeah, he again, like I legitimately think these are like this season. Like, I know they're done with the like vendettas angle or anything like that. Like this made some real
Enemies.
I don't think these people like are even going to tolerate each other outside the show.
Yeah.
Like, we knew Bananas and Sarah, they had their, but here's the thing, they had past, like they had years of this building.
It was many years between them.
We all suspected Sarah would take the money. I mean, Johnny would take the money.
Sarah was going to split it with him.
I don't know. I think she
was
would.
because
I think she would. But
she wanted to. It was her last season. She wanted to end on a good note. She wanted to settle down with her husband, pay off her debts, and start a family.
So we get to the
actual winner.
Yeah, TJ's going to
season.
announce who wins, and
I thought Hunter was ahead of Ashley.
Ashley would beat him in all the running stuff.
Ashley won by 30 seconds.
Yeah, and it was the running things, and so again, she won. I don't have a problem with her choice.
Where do you? Let me ask you this in regards.
Before you say that, I think we said 2 weeks ago, we all kind of said out of any of the teams, those two, whoever wins, will take the money and run.
Well, I think we said it on last week's pod.
Natalie and Polly?
No.
Hunter and Ashley? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we said if either one of them win, they'll take the money. Now,
well, the thing was, Hunter mentioned, I don't know if it was filmed before or after
I think it was
this,
filmed after the finale.
but he seemed genuinely eager to split the money with Ashley.
But I think they set that up to show, this is going to make it even a bigger devastation when it comes.
Do you think he wouldn't have split it with her?
I do not. I think he would have taken the money because they portrayed him in a very, very negative light. I'm not defending him at all because he said a lot of bad things about her. I will say she did quit on him a lot. I'm not excusing the things he said because he crossed the line.
Well, Ashley's a quitter. That's her track record. Every season that she's been on the challenge, even the charity seasons, she gets mad or upset and cries about wanting to quit and go home.
She's had a couple outliers, like some family stuff, but
even before that, it was like 2 seasons before that happened. She got mad at somebody and said, "I'm quitting. I'm going home and packing my bags. Take me now."
I'm not arguing that, but yeah.
Though she's a quitter, she's also a winner.
Twice now.
Twice now.
I think that's stupid.
She won. No, I think this is a legitimate win.
Yeah.
No. Last night's episode, it was a legitimate win. She earned that fair and square. That first win was a piece of crap.
Yeah, and I mean,
I don't necessarily agree with that because
I just think it was a bad final.
It's a bad final.
Yeah, she made it to the final.
It's one of those things that like you can't. I used it last week. Great Booker T, 5-time champion. You can't hate the player, you hate the game. You know, they perform what's put in front of them.
I hated that final.
I think she won a bad final, but she didn't make it to the final.
She won it, though.
Yeah, and
fair and square.
CT did too that season. I think this final, I didn't have a problem overall with this final or this season. Like, looking back, this season's.
My question was, though, is when do you begin to stack her up against the upper echelon of female competitors?
It's hard for me, but I mean, she's
top 10?
I think now she's won more money than any other female just from this win alone.
I don't say she's a top 10 female competitor.
I think she may be.
I think it's close.
You've got too many people like Laurel and Emily.
I get it, but I think
and
this
Evelyn
makes it a lot harder.
And Cara and
we're not arguing
even
that.
Camilla.
We're not arguing that.
You got Killa Cam.
So you've got 7 or 8 there. And there's room for 3 more. And I guess what I'm saying is if I'm willing to put Cam in my top 5, I've got to have a discussion about putting Ashley in my top 10.
I mean, so let's just say
I don't.
I think you have to, because let's just say her versus like someone like Paula. You pick Ashley.
Ashley 1000%.
Yeah, her versus like
Paula's a
Melinda
lot older,
or
though.
Joanna or
Johanna's not good. She was
but
never good.
I'm saying like all
she
these.
She coasted off of the coattails of first Wes and then Kenny.
But that's what we're saying is like these people.
Even
like,
the more recognizable ones, Coral, Tina.
Yeah,
she's in there above them.
I think in these finals,
I think Coral would come out on top.
It's
one of those things that they were definitely bigger personalities, right?
Yeah,
like I've said this about Tina, like she wasn't good at these challenges.
She was good for the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she was very loud and very aggressive.
Made good TV.
Yes.
No, I think Ashley has made a name for herself with this win specifically. Before this one, when it was just whatever, because didn't she win a champs versus whatever too?
She may have.
Yeah, she considered that her second win. Those don't count. They're charity.
I don't count those,
No.
but she still did win it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be like at least like 0.5.
Regardless, I don't put Ashley in my top 10.
I'm not going to say that yet either. But
I
have to talk about it. You got to talk about it.
I'll put her at 11 and be done with it. I mean, if she didn't have such a bad track record of threatening to quit the show so many times, then yeah, she'd probably be my top 10. But she's a quitter.
Did you have a problem with her taking the money?
No.
Did you have a problem with her taking the money?
Well, when she said she was going to take the money, Hunter's face fell, and I said, "Oh, he's going to be sick," because I think he didn't expect her to do it.
No, but I think in his mind, I think retroactively he thought he was a lot nicer than what he was.
I think he has a problem with not thinking before speaking, which there are a lot of people like that.
Most people on the show.
Well, there are a lot of people in the world that are like that. I thought it was really big of Joss to go console him, even after
Joss is just
what
a
just
nice
happened.
guy.
He's just so perfect and good and just.
We need to let her do a podcast on Joss and
he's
Sylvia
so he's
sometime.
so good. He's just good inside and out. But I mean, at first I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. But then after they replayed the clip, I had forgotten about what he said, you know, calling her an SLUT and saying he was gonna come for her family if she cost him the $1 million.
Yeah.
I was like, I had forgotten that he said that. So I kind of understand.
I 100%
how
understand.
she felt and why she chose to take the money. I don't think I would have the heart to do it if I were in her place. Just because I don't think I'd be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like initially, when they were showing that super cut of all the things he did, I was like, ooh, like they're painting him in a little bit of a biased angle because they weren't showing her threatening to quit. They weren't showing her throwing dailies.
Yeah.
And then as it went on, I was like, okay, I get what they're doing. And he absolutely did not make an effort to be a good partner with her. Like, he wanted to win, but he wanted to win despite her. Like,
that's the thing.
He wanted to drag her along with him.
To his downfall, MTV had receipts, and they played them for the world to see.
Yeah, and I think he comes off looking worse than this. And she's like, listen, you called me this. He's like, I never said that. And she's like, yes, you did.
And then they showed a clip.
And she's like, I didn't forget it.
Well, she said, you said if this slut cost you $1 million, you were going to come for my family. And he said, I never called you a slut. And I'm like,
I did say I'd come for your family.
But you admit that you were going to come for her family. And then they played the clip where he did call her a slut. And I was like,
I am with her in the sense that, like, I don't have a problem with it. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I'm too much of a nice guy. But it's a game.
And here's the thing. They did not like each other.
No.
This is not, you're choosing between, like, if you have to split it with me or even someone you just kind of know.
Would you split the money with me?
Yeah. This is someone that, like,
you guys lived together. You were best friends.
This is someone.
Appreciate that.
Why would he take that from you?
Zach's capable of a lot of things.
Well, this is someone. Oh my God, I can't even say it because you got to keep talking.
If it were between he and I, he would give all of it to me.
I would not.
I just realized y'all's calendar says Zach is a butt skank.
That was Adam.
Adam wrote that 8 months ago.
Long gone. Not dead. He's just gone.
Yeah, he's not dead. No, what I was saying is, this is someone who, like, one of your worst enemies that you've known for years and you did not get along with for a long time, and you've been forced to work together, and they've quit on you. And
you know who it would be like is if one of us were teamed up with the Juice.
Yeah,
right.
Now there are some extenuating circumstances with that because we know some family history with her, which would make it hard. But you've got to put yourself in. Would they do it to me? Would they take it from you? And I think I don't care what he says in the interview. I think he would have taken it.
Yeah,
and
I think I don't know that he would have taken it, but I definitely think he would have thought about it.
I don't think he would have taken it as quickly as she said.
I think he would have taken a minute to think about it.
But I think he would have said, you know what? She's been a pain to me this whole time. She's quit on me. She's whatever. I'm taking the money.
I think he would have brought up how he did all the weightlifting, especially in, like, the food challenges. He's the one that cleaned those plates for her.
But she didn't stop either. She did better
she did some, but he's the one that cleaned those plates. He threw them away.
I will say, just on the record, we missed the Twitter fiascos and whatever, but I do not have a problem with her choice. I think he would have done the same. I think it would have been interesting to see what some of the other teams would have done, like Natalie and Polly, because apparently Natalie's the devil and we didn't know it.
Oh, right. She is.
And,
she is. After I am so tore up over that.
Boy, she's fired up.
So,
I am mad. I am mad. Sylvia and Joss should have won this, and they would have split the money because Sylvia loves Joss. They are great friends, and Joss is such a good person.
I think we found our next Stan Twitter account.
Good Lord.
They were the most deserving out of any other team on this season.
So they just at the end of it all, I think this was a good season. I think it ended well. I want to see what the finale's like, but.
You know who I wish what I could have watched on this finale?
Devin.
No.
I'm going to tell him. You said that.
No, not that. I was going to say, like, Jenna and Jimmy.
Of course.
But, like, in that circumstance, if for some chance they had won, do you think Jimmy would take the money from Jenna? Because she backstabbed her in the last season where she pulled the double cross.
I will say Jimmy's not afraid to speak her mind. And
she's not afraid to pull moves.
Yeah, and I so it wouldn't surprise me. No, I'm not going to say one way or the other, but I don't know. Like they were gone really, really early on. And
well,
I'm real sad about that.
Some quick life advice for everyone out there. If you believe in the power of prayer, don't condemn people to hell at the same time.
That was the most hypocritical, oxymoronic thing I've ever heard in my life.
You're going to hell.
Well, he also called her a lot of really rough things. And so, I wanted to hit on that. Like,
well,
it's like he has like some Bible verses on his chest and whatever. He's to me, and that's the typical. I'm Southern, so I'm a Christian.
He's probably got a cross somewhere too.
Oh, absolutely. And so
he's probably one of those guys that steps foot in church twice a year, once for Easter, once for Christmas, and that's it.
And so because of that, it is a very hypocritical thing because, saying all those things and then like, I'll pray for you. It's like the two most back.
In a very passive aggressive way.
Oh no, he was pretty full on aggressive.
I thought he was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was almost sarcastic.
Oh, it was, yeah. And again, his whole thing was, I will never forgive you for the rest of your life. You'll have a place in hell. And I was like, well, that's...
Which is not a mark of...
Well, I was like, yeah. If you want to break down like the things Jesus taught, I was like, that's like the exact opposite of all that.
The total opposite.
We'll say what made it look all the worse was the fact that the guy couldn't find his tennis shoes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so pathetic.
He starts clapping about it. He's like, somebody get me my shoes.
Did it not seem, when he was doing all that, like it had less of a punch to it because he's walking around barefoot?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and then
didn't I just look
the
goofy?
fact that he's like wandering around aimlessly.
And then they're doing the like confessional with Josh and Sylvia crying. He just walks across frame.
A lot of crying in this final.
Yeah. I mean, Josh broke down in the confessional after, like not the one live, but like on
Josh and his good heart.
the recorded one after. So
Sylvia was crying a lot too, and it hurt me. Oh, my final thoughts are Josh and Sylvia should have won.
So I think we all had. I think it was a very enjoyable season overall.
We couldn't find words at the end, right? Like there was so much just emotional stuff that had happened.
Yeah, well,
I think
we just kind of looked at each other for about 15 seconds.
I think if Natalie and Polly wouldn't have had that twist thrown in there, it wouldn't have had as much of an impact. But because that happened and then it ultimately didn't pay off for them, and it set up all this other stuff, like it made a big...
Well, because that's what you remember most, right, is the ending.
Yeah.
That's what you remember more
mean,
than anything.
With Ashley taking the money, I was really conflicted about it until they showed the clip of him calling her that. And then I was still conflicted, but I was kind of leaning more towards her side. It was after her speech, her confessional afterwards, where she was saying, if somebody treats you like crap and talks down to you and calls you awful things, pack up your bags and take your money with you. And then I was like, you know what? That's right.
She didn't come down to his level. Like she could have got into it with him, but she had all the power. She chose the money.
Just won $1 million, y'all.
He can say whatever he wants. She just sits there.
She's a millionaire.
She just gets to hear it, and like she was very collected, honestly, especially for how we've seen her in the past.
She wasn't yelling. She was calm and a little bit of eagerness to her, obviously, because she's a millionaire now.
She absolutely, this was 100% premeditated. She knew from the beginning, if I win, I'm taking the money.
But I mean, after all that, even after they played the clips and he's trying to defend himself, then he just berates her in front of everybody, and it's just proving her point.
Yeah, it just made him look worse.
The fact that she held her tongue and just let it rip to show how...
To be fair, from what we saw, from the edit we saw.
From what we saw, he
definitely came off worse.
She stood there and let him make an ASS out of himself.
Can't say that.
We don't say bad words under my roof.
Well...
She let him make an even bigger one of himself.
He dug himself a deeper hole, and
he made himself look real bad.
I think he's another person, like, as much as Josh and Sylvia will hate Natalie and Polly, him and her, they're ever on another season
I really
together,
believe he will never forgive her.
Oh no. He said it as many times.
He condemned her to hell.
I'm kind of glad this whole Vendetta Rivals 9 whatever thing is done, so we can see something new.
Yeah, it's kind of old.
But you got some stuff in the works for future seasons if you want to come back to something along these lines.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, after that last bit, I have to say I'm not mad at her.
Nope.
There are so many challenge podcasts now. They could do a battle of the podcast. Right?
I guess.
I don't
We'd
know.
do all right.
Not in the current state.
No, we could power through though.
I don't know how we do.
I gotta wrap up. I can't talk anymore.
You look good.
Thanks.
You may not sound good, but you look good.
Okay, well, final thoughts. Joss and Sylvia should have won.
Yep.
That's not how we end the show.
They're the winners in my heart.
So
the end.
Okay,
good night.
What are your superlatives? Who smashed some heads?
Man.
Ashley smashed Hunter's head, heart, and wallet.
My Can I say mine at the same time? Because they go hand in hand. So
Okay.
why don't you go first, and why don't you two go back and forth, and I'll do mine all at once
So,
last.
I'll say Ashley. I mean, she and I don't like, but I mean, we're down to like the last like 4 teams. Like, she devastated him, and
I don't think he's gonna sleep tonight.
well, this happened months ago.
I don't think he slept that night.
So who did you have that got their head smashed?
Polly and Natalie.
Okay, so I figured everyone would say Hunter, so I had Polly and Natalie because they outed themselves as we'll screw you over,
And
then it didn't
still
benefit
only
them.
came in 3rd place.
Yeah.
Not even 2nd.
So I mean, Hunter's the obvious choice, but Polly and Natalie are up there too. So Jake, you can go with yours. We are not.
We're all coughing
We're
really
not
bad.
a good show.
But we're
tonight.
here for
Well,
the people.
I start coughing a lot when I get hot.
We made a promise.
And I'm
did.
really hot now because I'm all worked up about Joss and Sylvia.
Now we see how much you think of yourself.
We made a promise that we were going to do the
What?
show regardless.
You just called yourself hot.
I'm sweating.
Oh, not HOTT.
HAWT.
That one too.
Okay.
All right, so Joss and Sylvia smashed head. Can I use 2?
Yeah, go
They
for it.
smashed heads tonight because I feel like with the emotion that was poured out from the both of them, their tears were like hammers
What?
falling upon.
I thought you were going to go more along the lines of, despite getting 2 grenades thrown at them,
No.
That
they
sounds-
still came in 2nd and only lost by 40
No,
seconds.
because-
Tears like
Hannah-
Hammer sounds like a line that would be in like a Thursday album.
Because Hannah, you fall into the group whose heads got smashed because
What?
yes, you
I get where you're
got
going
your
with
head
that.
smashed tonight. Because if we go back and play this pod over again, there's probably a good 15 to 20 minutes of Josh and Sylvia solely. They should have won talk. I'm not complaining. I'm not getting on you, but you are my superlative tonight.
It's not my head. It's my heart.
Well, your heart got smashed by tears.
my
Yeah.
Joss heart
The tears
is broken.
So
fell from the cheekbones, the welly formed
His chiseled, sharp cheekbones.
welly
formed.
the well formed.
All right, so what's your?
Sun-kissed and bronze.
What's my what?
I thought you had another one.
Huh?
Was that it?
That's it.
Joss and Sylvia's tears.
Hannah got her head smashed.
I thought you were saying you had
By
2 of
Joss
each.
and Sylvia's tears.
Yes.
So, yeah, again, I think we'll be back next week with the reunion, and then however long to do that, and then we may do the CT wedding thing. We'll see what
Well, and
happens.
I don't know
we've
how
got the
that's
cool
gonna
little
go.
recap of our first season doing the pod.
that's
we're
in
gonna do
that's
too.
in the works, but
Yeah.
this other stuff
We
still
probably
happens.
need to do
Yeah.
that after the
That's right.
What's the word?
Wedding.
No. What's next week?
Thanksgiving.
No.
That's
wait,
tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. No, what is
Are you going
the
to California again?
Reunion show. We should do that after we finish the reunion show.
Well, the way the schedule is going to work out is it's going to go reunion for 2 weeks, and then immediately going to CT's wedding for 2 weeks.
Okay, well, we can talk about the first part of the reunion show next week and see if anybody wants us to do a recap immediately after.
We
So-
reunion every week.
Yeah, we'll figure that out as it comes. But so just I got to stop talking.
We got to do
Yeah,
our movies.
It's midnight here, and so
It sure is.
It's on the dot.
and me and Jake still have to watch a Grizzlies game.
Okay, so we decided to do let's do high school album of the week first because movie of the week
You
is
go
really
first.
fun. High school album of the week, Kelly Clarkson's Breakaway. There's so many good songs
Is
on
that the one with Since You've Been Gone?
Yeah, and
When I
Behind
was
These
in high
Hazel Eyes.
When I was in high school, we played that as an opener a couple times in my band that I was in.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a lot of good songs on there.
That's the only one I
See
know.
you soon. Look 'em
2004
up
was a
on
good
YouTube.
year.
On MySpace, it's still there.
Are they on MySpace?
Oh, well, yeah, and actually, that last show is on YouTube where your brother stood.
a good show.
He stood like this.
I say it's y'all's best show.
Oh, I think so. And then we broke
Yeah.
up after.
So you'll see Zach with a Spice Girl shirt on.
I did have a Spice Girls
and
shirt on.
he took my red
I
guitar
finally
from me
threw
at
that
one
away.
point.
That's because mine died in the middle of the show.
My band is also on YouTube at that same show.
Is
Good
it?
night, comma Anthony.
Yeah,
not
that-
Anthony.
yeah.
Anthony from Julius Caesar. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's your high school album of the week?
This was a fun one. We actually saw these guys. This was a concert we went to together.
So we may have the same album.
You think so?
Because you said it earlier.
Well, say it.
Yeah, go.
Horse the Band.
Okay, no, it's not. It's not.
A Natural Death.
I love Horse the Band's one of the funnest live bands I've ever
Absolutely. Someone threw their shoe up at the, and I'm pretty sure they were all high.
seen. The lead singer's kind of fat too.
Yeah.
And he thought it was hilarious that someone threw their shoe at him in the middle of the show.
And then didn't he like throw it backstage or something?
Yeah, he didn't give it back.
No. I will say their merch guy was like the biggest D-bag on the planet.
He was a jerk.
But
they were fun though.
And that album is great. It's different.
It is very different.
It's a super fun listen.
Yeah, it's kind of out there. So this was another band we went and saw. Mm-hmm. I think you went. You may have not gone to this one.
Okay. Your voice is going out.
Yeah.
Spit it out.
Sounds good.
The early November.
Hey, yeah.
The room's too cold.
Yeah.
That was. It choked you up. That was gonna be my album last week, but I went Portugal the Man.
I like Portugal the Man.
But that album is freaking great.
His voice just doesn't sit well with me anymore. But yeah, the early November.
Their last CD was really good.
Yeah. Of course, they had the mother-daughter.
Yeah, that was
the mother-father.
That was a 3-album
compilation
concept thing, and
different.
It was okay.
But no, that album you're talking about,
great.
Super good.
And their acoustic stuff before that's really good.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so our movie of the week this week we are doing 1997. Also, an amazing year for movies. We're
very biased on the mid '90s.
Yeah,
late 90s,
but I mean, come on, the '90s were like the pinnacle of just great movies of every genre: horror, thriller, suspense,
horror movies,
watch your mouth.
comedy, cartoon, like kids movies. So 90
cartoons.
So 97. My pick for this week is The Lost World: Jurassic Park. We actually watched it while we were on vacation. It was on TV one of the nights.
Vince Vaughn's in it.
Right when we were going to bed.
Good Vince Vaughn performance.
So we just laid in bed and watched it. It's so good. All the Jurassic Park
I didn't really
movies
watch
are
it. I was
great.
watching the Grizzlies game on my iPad.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching it. Because the first Jurassic Park was on right before it.
Yeah, they played them back to back.
Oh, it was so good.
I actually have 6 movies listed here.
You can only do one.
I know.
You pick one because you can come back to them.
Because I could only pick one.
I'll tell you the one I'll pick that I still enjoy. Like every time it comes on TBS or something,
Is it Home Alone 3?
No, Vegas Vacation.
That is a good one. I didn't know that was nice.
Yeah.
I love that movie. That's my favorite. This may
I
be
didn't
controversial.
see that one on the list.
Yeah, it's on there. This may be controversial. That's my favorite vacation movie.
I don't agree with that, but it is good. It's underrated.
I
sure.
enjoy that movie.
Yeah, it's good, but Christmas Vacation, it's just
Christmas Vacation is hard to beat.
It's an American
I know.
classic.
I know.
It's one of the top movies ever made.
I don't know about that, but I do love it.
Oh my gosh. We can watch it back to back and not get tired of it.
His voice is going out.
Yeah.
I know. I'm trying to get him to finish.
My pick was I almost went with Men in Black,
Been a good
Another great pick. I almost went with that one.
but I picked Liar Liar.
I love that
one.
movie.
Perfect.
Because growing up, like Jim Carrey,
This was him in his prime.
Yeah, I loved him.
He was the actor of the 90s.
And that kid, was that the same kid from Home Alone 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Great
And-
kid actor.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't see him much
I don't
now.
think he did anything
No.
else really after that. But
I think that was
It's a
it.
shame when these kid actors.
that's such a good concept.
Dylan and Cole Sprouse are doing great.
Yeah, who cares?
That's,
Dylan Sprouse has his own brewery. Cole
one of them showed their
Cole
wiener.
Sprouse is on Riverdale right now.
They did. One of them
And
showed their wiener to the world.
They started out on what's that Adam Sandler movie?
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, and then
They were on Friends.
they were on
Sweet
Friends.
Life of Zach and Cody.
And then they got their own show.
Sweet Life on
We
Deck.
weren't talking about them.
No.
We were talking about kid
I'm
actors and
talking
where
about-
where they are now.
I was specifically
Cole Sprouse
talking
is,
about
is
Liar
bringing
Liar.
in bank
I don't
right
care
now.
about. I don't care about him.
Then go Sprouse somewhere else.
That is such a great movie and a great concept, and I still think to this day, like it pops up in my head all the time. Whenever somebody lies about a number, I always think of the courtroom scene where she's talking about her weight, and she's like 104, and he's like, yeah, in your bra, and like that always sticks in my head for some reason.
Let me ask you this.
I love that movie. I think about that movie a lot.
How
too.
often do you give Hannah the claw?
The what?
Oh, that's the weird.
the
That's the
stepdad.
stepdad. That's not the claw, man.
Yeah, I don't think.
Never gave her the claw, huh?
I don't think so.
He didn't give me anything but sticking his finger in my tooth.
Woo.
In your tooth.
Well,
That's never
I
happened.
was literally asleep in the car on the way here, and you just put your finger in my mouth and start scraping it against my tooth.
I did do that.
With your fingernail?
No, that's
no,
weird.
just like he
just like rub it.
And I
wasn't in her tooth.
I hate when he puts his fingers in my mouth, and I think that's why he does it, because he thinks it's funny. But I was asleep.
I imagine her mouth was wide open.
No.
When isn't it?
The always open mouth, right?
Hey, that was one of my first albums.
Yeah.
Listen, my mouth was not wide awake because I woke up.
Wide awake.
My mouth was not open while I was asleep because
You're not even on medicine tonight.
Listen, I'm so tired. But what woke me up was he was reaching over. He was reaching his finger over to my mouth, and he kind of like hit my lip a little bit, and then he hit my nose, and then he shoved his finger in my mouth.
Maybe he was just trying to pray over you.
Nope.
And then condemn her to hell.
Yeah.
Like a donor.
He's just trying to annoy me.
Okay,
to
so
no end.
My voice is gone. Is going to be gone, and so
I need food.
Yeah, we've only eaten once today.
1:45 exact.
Yeah, we're going to clock in at a good time, but it's the finale. Like,
well, before we end, can I just here?
I don't know what you're doing.
Why do you always get up?
Yeah. I just want to give it up for everyone here at this table for finishing out
They can't hear you.
the season of
I moved his
Final
microphone.
Reckoning. This was our first season doing this as a podcast, and we started well, but we finished strong.
Why are you yelling?
Sick. Stop clapping.
And so I just want to thank all of you guys for being here.
There's only two of us sitting
We're not
here.
done, but this is the season finale.
Yeah,
right?
we're still going to be here
coming back.
weekly,
We're
and
not
then
leaving.
and then once all this dies down, we have some things planned out. So
I think we just have too much fun doing this to stop.
it's fun.
It's fun.
I mean,
we have fun just with each other.
Here's the thing: if it wasn't fun, and if we didn't like doing it, and we didn't love the people that listen and interact with us, there's no way me and Hannah would have done this tonight, because after all we went through, and I can't talk and all that, like it's.
I'm telling you, the last two nights we were running on maybe 45 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, it's rough, and so
Like I almost threw up everywhere in the car on the way here because just of sleep deprivation.
That's what, yeah.
So, again, thanks for sticking with us. We're not done. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about the reunion. We've got other things in the works.
Do you want to give out our...
You can do it. I'm gone, man. He's
You
standing
can,
up while doing this. I had to move his microphone.
You can follow us on Twitter at Smashing Heads.
Which we'll be back and active now. We've been laying low.
You can find us on Instagram at Smashing Heads Podcast. You can search for us on Facebook.
Or just / Smashing Heads Podcast.
Yeah, or just search Smashing Heads Podcast.
Yeah.
You can email us at smashingheadspodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Podbean,
Yep.
which you can just search for us on there too. So, or just Google us and you'll find us at all these locations.
That is true.
Your face was just really funny when you stopped.
And that's television near you.
And I will say, I have been, if you're a Reddit listener, I've been laying low on Reddit because I did not want to ruin this finale. I'll be way more active from here on out. We'll be posting more threads and commenting. But we were so close to the end, I didn't want to accidentally ruin it, and then again, it happened anyway. So
You ruined it.
not Reddit's fault. But again, I can't talk anymore, so we'll be back with you next week. So don't go anywhere.
Not for the last time. Have a good night, everyone.